Only God knows I love you. I don't even know you. Only God knows. I know you. And I love you. First. What it is, focus your homeboy First. Back again with another episode of Everybody Got a Story. This is the platform in which I try to shed light on the extraordinary stories of extraordinary people who ordinarily wouldn't have an opportunity to tell their story in great detail. I got a tremendous one for y'all today. You understand? But before I get into it, I got to tell y'all this is sponsored by Statement Tees. That Statement Tees, every t-shirt you wear makes a statement. And you see the one I'm making right now. Hey, history said, don't make me repeat myself. That's what history said. Don't make me repeat myself. Learn from the past so we won't make those mistakes in the future. And those are the kind of lessons that I tried to teach in my classroom. And that's why today's interview, outside of interviewing my daughter and my mama, I don't see any interview I'm going to do surpassing this one. Because I got my GOAT with me today, y'all. And I don't think I've ever said that publicly. But this young lady right here is my greatest student ever. She knows that. She knows why I say that. Y'all will learn why I say that as well. But this interview is about her, but she's representative of all my students who I love so dearly. My students that come from struggle, but overcome that struggle to be great things. And like I said, she's my greatest. Without further ado, I give to you Miss Brianca D. King. That girl just got married, so I know she had about putting that thing on there. What's up, baby?
What's up?
Hey,
What's up?
you know I'm happy to have you on.
Yes, I am happy to be here.
As I told America and the international community, you are my GOAT. It's the first time I've said that publicly because you know I love all my students.
Yes, he does.
And I don't show any favoritism or anything like that. But once we get into it, there's a particular thing that you did that sets you apart from anybody I ever taught. And so I'm proud to say that publicly. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it so America can find out why you're so special to me. All right.
Yeah.
So let's tell the people where you're from and how would you describe your upbringing there?
I would say that I'm from Holmes County, Mississippi, because my mom was from Goodman, Mississippi, and my dad was from Durant, Mississippi. Some people say Durant, whatever you want to call it. That's where I was from. So I just say I'm from Holmes County. I went to elementary school at Goodman Pickens Elementary. Again, that was a elementary school between Goodman, Mississippi, and Pickens, Mississippi. So again, that's why I would consider myself from Holmes County. Goodman Pickens. I would first say that even though my mom and my dad was in my life my entire life, my grandmother was the heart of me, Alice Carol Nelson. Like, that was my go-to. Believe it or not, like in that age with your grandma taking care of you, that was pretty common. So I was the oldest of 14 grandchildren. I stayed with my grandma. At the time, my mom stayed with my grandma as well, but once her and my dad got married, she moved with my dad, which was only, again, 10 minutes away from Goodman. But I would stay with my grandma through the week, go to school at Goodman Pickens, and then be with my dad and my mom on the weekend, which was fine. I still saw them. But my grandma didn't finish high school. She ain't getting no diploma or nothing like that. But she knew. She knew her stuff, and she instilled it in me. You can bring no seeds home. You couldn't flunk. You couldn't get in trouble. Like your teachers couldn't call you, and that's what led me to my upbringing in Goodman Pickens Elementary. I had a lot of classmates. We were like self-driven, like we were competitive. We wanted to make good grades. So that was a thing that really like kept us at the time. And like those same group of students, like they followed me. We followed each other, most of us, up to high school. So we became competitive. Like they instilled stuff like reading books, book competitions, spelling competitions. So I felt like at the time when they separated classes like an A class, a B class, a C class, that was a good advantage and a bad advantage because, you know, at the time, putting an A group of kids together, them kids, they know it. They know the information. They can catch on. They're competitive. But that also took away from the people that was in the C and D classes because they didn't have us in the class to also peer learn from. So that was, you know, that was a thing. We all grew up in like different environments. Like I said, my grandmother didn't have the best. Like she stayed in a mobile home. I was fine with that. Most of my classmates stayed in the apartments. At the time, people know Good Haven, Mississippi. Like that was it. That was the seat. Everybody knew about Good Haven. So most of my classmates came from there. If I had to describe Holmes County, we weren't like, you know, we had a population of about 7,000-8,000 people. Like it wasn't a whole lot of people. 2 convenience stores and a 4-way stop was all you had when I was growing up. So the most I would be able to do is go hang out in Good Haven or go up the street to the convenience store and do something for my grandmother or something like that, or, you know, like go downtown and be at the park or something. At the time growing up, there wasn't a park, but midway of me in junior high and high school, they developed the park there. But back to Goodman Pickens, like I said, we were just some competitive students, and I love my upbringing there. I remember coaches like Retha Greer. She was like one of the number one people. Like she hooped at Holmes Community College, so people knew her. So when she came into my life in elementary, she instilled basketball into me. I wasn't, you know, the healthiest kid at the time. I was extremely overweight, so basketball became a thing in my life. We had teachers like Miss Holland. The thing with the teachers at Goodman Pickens, we had those teachers that taught. Like they taught you, they taught your mama, they taught your daddy. Like they were there. So to know that I had teachers that would say like, I know your mama. I'm going to call her. Like, I know your daddy. I know your grandma. I know they don't play about you acting like this in school. Those was the type of teachers that, you know, kept us on top. So, all to say, like, I felt like Goodman Pickens planted that seed for me. Like, they allowed me to figure out how I can learn, figure out how I needed to learn to get where I wanted to be. So, I appreciate it. Teachers like that. Teachers like Miss Lewis, like she's still in the district to this day.
What?
Still teaching. Like
pay teachers $100,000. Pay teachers $100,000.
Like these teachers, Suzanne Holder, she was my bus driver and my teacher. Like these teachers are still in the game. So, you know, shout out to them because even when, you know, they thought we weren't doing what we needed to do, like they put us there, like they instilled the go get in us at Goodman Pickens. Like they did that for us. So, you know, I enjoyed my time there, but having that school there, you know, in the middle of kids who had flaws up and down, you know, some kids were able to leave from that school and go to somewhere better. Some did not. So, you know, that was it.
Well, shout out to Goodman Pickens. Shout out to Goodman Pickens. Because I remember y'all telling me when I taught y'all in high school about how Goodman Pickens was and how competitive y'all were with that reading competition.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get kids to read in high school, and Brianca is one of the handful that I ever in my career had read independently. So when the other kids, I was like, man, why won't, you know, they were like, we used to read at Goodman Pickens.
Yes, like that was a thing. Like they knew that we were like below state standards when it came to like testing and all of that. So reading was one of the things we needed to do. So monthly, we would have like a book of the month. Like they'll get us included, do like little activities around that. And like it used to be who can read 25 books this month, who can read 150 books this month. And like they would keep like grids in the classroom and let you know, all right, they read their book, they did their report on that, that's a star. So everybody's like counting everybody's stars, like dang, they almost to 25, they almost to 50. So I think that was a thing. It kept fun in the school, it kept learning in the school. It was just hands-on, and we like that.
Okay, shout out to all those teachers and administrators that did that. We need to see that implemented in more schools. Describe your high school experience.
So leaving from Goodman Pickens Elementary School, and that's still kind of one of the common things now. We'll get to the district, how it is, where it stands now. But when you left Goodman Pickens, you would transition to, if you stayed in the Goodman and Pickens area, you would transition to William Sullivan High School. Though William Sullivan had an elementary, a middle school, and a high school, so those who stayed in Durant or out of the state limits of Goodman would go to William Sullivan. So I started my William Sullivan career 7th, 8th grade year. Mm-hmm. And that was great too. Like, I felt like we had you had those teachers that did not know students, and you had those teachers that took the extra mile. So once they saw that they had their group of students that came in, like they want to learn, they eager to learn, like they want to make these good grades. Like those were students that stand out. Shout out to number 1, Marcus Stewart. He is always going to be my number 1. He was my basketball coach. Like he showed me, my classmates, students that weren't his, like he just took that extra time out to, see what we needed, see where we wanted to be. And, he provided that with us. Basketball was a big thing. Shout out to Phyllis Hoxie. She was there. Christy Montgomery. All of these teachers were there. Like they kept us there. We didn't have the 25 book campaign, and that it was a more mature transition for us, being in education and in age. So I got in trouble, did my thing, little teenage stuff, but I stayed on top of my grades. Like even then, and even in middle school, I still partially stayed with my grandparents, but then I transitioned to staying with my mom. And like I said, like being the oldest of 14 grandchildren, we stayed all together.
I didn't know it was 14 of y'all. Okay.
We all stayed together in my grandmother's mobile home, y'all. That's 1 living room and 2 bedrooms. So we made it work. Like it was family. We made it work. My grandparents, my grandpa, they call him Shining Goodman. He worked for this sawmill in Durant, Mississippi. They shut it down years ago, but he hadn't worked since then. But at the time, my grandma, like I said, never finished education or anything like that. But she was the seed of 14 grandchildren. She provided for 14 grandchildren. She cooked even when she couldn't eat for herself. She provided all of us with what we needed. So she didn't play about grades. So I took that same mentality to junior high. Learn new people. This was a mixture of kids that we weren't originally with. We all mixed in, so we learned new kids, learned new personalities, met new friends, that type of thing. In between, that was a shock for us. I think this was one of the hardest things me and my classmates had to deal with. It's giving me chills. 7th grade, in between our 7th and 8th grade year, we lost one of our closest friends, DeWillis Oliver. Rest in peace. He was one of them that followed us from kindergarten on up. And, sadly, before a basketball tournament, he just became ill. And prayers out to Mama Franchella Levy. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me speaking on his behalf. But I think that is when life really kicked into us. Like, anything can happen, y'all. Like, we ain't here forever. So that took a lot on friends. That took a lot on our education. At the time, like, I could remember it became like a social shock to us being at that age where they had to shut classes down for a day because we couldn't focus. When
did they get y'all into counseling?
They provided counseling, coach, but it wasn't like it was just that mental talk, that mental comfort. Shout out to my now auntie Caroline Montgomery. She was one of the nurses in the district at the time. So, she consoled us a whole lot and basically explained to us that what the illness was and kind of, put a mental image in our head to allow us to interpret the situation better. So that was a thing for us. But otherwise, I think the transition from me and my classmates from Goodman Pickens to William Sullivan was great. Like I said, we met new people. That was just one of the most social things that we had to deal with at the time. And it still carried with us through high school, but it was just something that kind of touched us all.
Yeah, I remember when I got there, because I got to William Sullivan your ninth grade year, but I still remember y'all saying DeWillis. I didn't know what y'all were talking about, but I gathered that this was somebody that meant a lot to y'all, and it was a traumatic experience for. And it's a small school. We talking William Sullivan
like
at that time was
Holmes
a
County
2A school.
wasn't big. So if you were family, you were
and like people might think right now, they might think of Holmes County Central, but what you're talking about is even a much smaller group of people with a little 2A school. Everybody. So to have a death like that when y'all supposed to be, you young and you coming into yourself and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's pretty traumatic. And I asked about the counseling because I really think we got to get more. Not just your guidance counselor in a school.
And I think that's what we were. That is what we have always had. That type of. We've never had a counselor to bring us psychological comfort. Or
yes, that's what was needed at that time. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said,
we all dealt with it in different ways. Like it affected our education. It affected us socially. Like that was a shock to us. It went from we were just sitting in the classroom with him the day before to nothing the next day. So it was just like, whoa.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But
rest in peace to my brother.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I got to William Sullivan your ninth grade year, and America, when she says she didn't play by her grades, she is not lying. This girl, if she made a 95 on something, she was pissed off. She gonna come up there to me. She trying to see what went down, why I got this wrong, all that kind of stuff. She want to know. I would give like multiple choice tests with some matching, and I have like an essay question at the end. And a lot of folks just say screw the essay question as long as I get everything else right. Nope. This one right here gonna write a book down there for that essay. It won't be a short essay. You ain't have to do a lot. Not this one right here. So she's dead serious about her grades, and it paid off. She went on to become valedictorian of her class. She was the last valedictorian of that high school. So just can you speak on the amount of effort, discipline that went into you accomplishing that?
In this entire interview, I just gotta, keep touching back with my grandma because, like I said, she was like the core of me. So not only did she instill, like, go to school, do what you got to do. They better not call me like discipline, which her main thing. Like my grandmother was OG, the realist. She was not playing about that. Like if I'm sending you to school, if I'm dressing you, feeding you, you need to go to school and do what you got to do. So even though I had grew younger, I still had that fear that if my grandma found out, like I'm off, I can't be off. Like, I don't want to go through that. So that was a thing for me. We transitioned to high school. High school was a lot. It was a lot emotionally. It was a lot socially, but we made it through my ninth grade year.
Yeah, you was something else your ninth grade year. Now she grew, America. But this little thing here was something else that ninth grade year.
Oh, my ninth grade year.
Boy.
I was not. I was on my education, y'all. But
she was on that. She was on there, but her and her partner Tanaska Williams. Shout out to my baby Tanaska. Woo, they were woo.
You know, we just at the time we was teenagers, typical
Right.
teenagers, trying
Right.
to do what you got to do in school, but still have a young, spontaneous life.
But I will
as
say this though, I
well.
want to put this on wax. I gotta put this on wax. I was thinking about this. I said, "No, I'm gonna wait and put it on wax." I lost my grandmother her freshman year. My
Yep.
first year at Williams Southern High School, I lost my grandmama. I lost my grandmama doing third period. She came to me second period, and I ran out of the classroom, sped the can, but my grandmama was already passed. These little jokers who have been giving me so much problem, okay, that I had to rap every class at the end of class to make them be quiet. Okay, that's how I had to teach. I had to be like, "Hey, y'all, let me handle my business."
Look, I'm getting there, y'all. I'm gonna get to that part.
I spit last 5 minutes. Okay, so this is what I'm dealing with. These kids took up money. Her class period, that second period, took up money. It wasn't a lot, but they didn't have a lot. And nobody, no administrator, no other teacher told them to do this. They just decided to do that for me. Took up some money and gave it to me. That's one of the nicest things that's ever happened to me in my life. And I sincerely appreciate y'all.
I can truly say that's one thing about Holmes County back in the day. We'll speak on Holmes County to this day, but back in the day when we had them OG grandmothers and aunts and all that, whether you knew them or not, you took care of family. If they weren't your family, you still took care of family. So we always carried that. And like those small, we learned that those small gestures like would take people a long way if you did something like that. So again, that group that I centered myself around, the people that I came up with, like that was us. So we knew that Adam had taken care of us, even for a short period of time. We hadn't even known him a long period of time, but we knew that he had came to take care of us, so we had to take care of him.
America, they shocked me. I ain't gonna lie, they shocked me, but I was so happy.
Year. Y'all done heard me talk.
That's their 9th grade year they did that. That was amazing.
This is 9th grade year. Y'all have heard me talk about these teachers that instilled in us, that pushed us, that got us where we needed to be. So we knew in 8th grade we had left Christy Montgomery and Marcus, then we left them behind. So we had to learn these new teachers in high school. And one thing, given that we were a F district at the time, high school was different for us because the teachers changed a lot. They changed a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So Adam came in our life 9th grade. Like, you had those people that wanted to know him. You had those people that tried to test him to his limit to find out who he was. But he came in talking knowledge that we had never heard of at that age. He came in telling us, like, y'all can be something if you do this. Even though, you know, y'all probably didn't eat yesterday, or even though y'all sleeping on the floor at your mom's house, y'all can come out of that. So 9th grade year, after he came into a lot of our lives, like a lot changed for the good and the bad. Like I said, those who did not understand what he was trying to do had that wall up where they couldn't really see through to what he was trying to do. They wouldn't let it down or really get that. But you had people like, you know, me, Kadarius Parker, Shanice Wimsatt, Charles Collins, Tanaska, Akil Washington. We saw what he was trying to do. Like we knew that, okay, this a new teacher. He say he from Canton, Mississippi, but like we from Goodman, we from Pickens. Like what he gonna do for us right up the street? That's how we felt, because even though Holmes County was small, Jackson, we had to go there for doctor's appointments. We had to go, like, that was common for us. So we were like, okay, he been right up the street. Why he want to teach us? But at the same time, the teachers that had been teaching us in the past were locally family too. They were locally teachers as well. So, you know, when he came into our life, it was different. And I guess I'll solely speak for me at this point. My parents separated in 9th grade. So a lot of my act outs, I call it, I was going through that as a child. Like, my parents were separated. I didn't know what to do. So I started doing stuff for attention. I can call it that now. I got in trouble a couple of times in his class, you know, petty stuff. My first time, y'all, I just told y'all that I was scared to get in trouble with my grandma. Like, hey, my grandma didn't play that. She just was not going for that. So my first time ever getting suspended was my 10th grade year out of his class. And he was very much disappointed in me, but we'll get to that point. I said all that to say, me and my father was not on one page. Like, he's still my dad. I still loved him, but I won't speak on the situation so much. But we're just not on one page going through high school. So I looked into my father's guidance in Adam, and I did that knowing that he would guide me in the right way. He would never, and he was clear when we first had our conversation about this, that I would never take your father's place because that's your dad. And that was fine. That was good. But when I couldn't vent to my dad, or when my dad had done something that I didn't understand, or even boy related, I needed to go to him. He needed to know everything, so that if I felt like I couldn't talk to my mama, I felt like Adam was my outlet. I could go to him. So during my high school days, and he was there, like, so this is even when I wasn't even in his class anymore. When he was done teaching with me, I would go find him on his planning periods and just vent. I don't care if I just wasn't feeling something that day. That was health wise, that was socially with the classmates, like teachers. If I didn't feel up to par, if I didn't feel 100%, Adam opened that door for me. And not only did he open that door for me, he opened that door for all his students. And that's what it took for us. That was it. He became a dad at that moment. Half of our 3rd semester, 9th grade year and 10th grade year, he became our dad. He wasn't Coach Wells anymore. He wasn't Mr. Wells anymore. Like, he had to be a dad. Not only to us, he had his family at home. So I would say Adam was one of those people that really carried the school of William Sullivan on his shoulders and his kids at home, because when we called, he went running. I don't care what it was. We could be in the midnight dark and like, Coach, I'm in this situation. Even if he couldn't get to us, he gave us that guidance. So I say, like, we really appreciated that. And I was one of those people that, like, I cherished that, and I couldn't lose that, because I hadn't, like I said, I needed to grow mentally as a child. I was young. I felt like I knew everything. So I wasn't trying to be open to communicate to my dad, but I needed another dad to come in and tell me, like, you know, maybe this is what he's trying to do. So I really appreciated that. And like, we'll never forget, he did small things like he talked about. He rapped on Fridays. He called us his go-getters. No other teacher in that high school wanted us to bring pictures of ourselves and put it on their wall as display in their class. Like, nobody wanted to do that. Like, why he want to do that? Nobody talked about money with us. Nobody talked about credit with us. Nobody. Me. I'm not at the time, I wasn't a history person, y'all. Not that I wasn't a history person, I didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. Even though I had read all them books at Goodman Pickens, sitting in his class, I couldn't understand, put the dots together. So I would tell him, I can't read him. He wanted us to go home and read and do assignments at night, but I couldn't. I would make the grades, But I would tell him, like, I think I just read to get my answers, but I didn't read to comprehend. And he helped me a lot with that. I feel like that was another turn in our education. Another, like, he would, like, I can just go on and on. I can remember in high school we had TFAs. I think that's what they call them, Teachers for America. So this is a part of us saying, like, we didn't have those solid teachers that had been teaching our parents. We had teachers that were only there for a few years and gone. Shout out to Miss Andy. She was our ninth grade.
Yeah, that's my girl. Y'all always talk about she held it down.
She held it down. When I say brought those test scores up to life,
she did that.
She did that.
She did that.
Shout out to Mr. Roberts. He did that. Those were TFAs.
Mr. Roberts. Yeah. Shout out Mr. Roberts.
TFAs that did it. Like they cared us. Like we brought that in. Like once they did small programs and talked about how these students, you know, they were able to show us our progress. Like last year, y'all were here. This year, y'all here. Like that was a lot for us, man. And we like appreciated that. Adam stayed in our life during that time period. We would tell him, like, you know, Coach, how long you gonna be here? You gonna be here for a little while and dip out on us? Like, because the teachers changed. So
yeah, America, if y'all don't know what she's talking about, there's a program funded by the federal government called Teach for America. And basically what it is coming out of college, you can sign up to teach for 2 years in a school district that's considered at risk. And the government will pay off your student loans. Now, unfortunately, some people take that program, they treat it like a lick, and they come in, they teach the kids, but they really don't care. They just get through the 2 years or whatever. The two people that she just said came there. They only stayed 2 years, true enough. But for those 2 years, they were fully invested in these children.
Me not leave out Miss Kersey. Let me not leave her out.
Okay, these 3 people, and let's be all the way real. Let's be all the way real. Okay, this is probably a 99.99% black school.
Yes.
I remember I had one white student, I think, my whole time there.
That was it. We had one white student all the way up to high school.
The 3 teachers she talking about were all white. Okay. And this, you know, all my students real. Let me just say, my kids coming from the struggle for real. Okay.
For real.
If you come up in there and you scared, you were not gonna make it.
They're not gonna make it. They're gonna pick you, honey.
I can tell you right now, Miss Andes was not scared. Miss Kersey was not scared. My boy, Mr. Roberts, I wouldn't say he was scared. He didn't go as hard as Andes and Kersey, but Mr. Roberts got involved with the football team and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to them because they did the Teach for America thing the right way. You come in and you try to make an impact. Okay. And so Brianca is speaking for herself, but I'm sure she's speaking for a lot of my kids when they talk about those 3. So shout out to y'all, salute to y'all for that.
Yes, indeed. And like I said, like that, this is speaking on like 10, 15 years ago. Like we had to take state tests. So those teachers came in, like we got a duty. Y'all have to pass. Like my job is to make sure you pass. So if you weren't on that, like they had no tolerance for it because they knew they were there for a short time. So those teachers mattered to us. Like they came in. One of my most memorable things, and he know this, we talk about it all the time. It was our 10th grade year. This was our 9th grade year. Kadarius Parker, them 10th grade year. Yeah. He came up with this play.
Oh,
got a lot of his go-getters. At this point, we were labeled go-getters, y'all. He labeled us as go-getters. And let me tell you about go-getters. You got. You had to go get everything. Like, he could see the ability in you before you could see it for yourself. He could tell you, like, I know you can do it. I see you can do it. Like, just put the bullshit to the side and come on, get it done so we can do what we got to do. So we were labeled go-getters. And at that point, when he saw us and talked about his students, we were labeled go-getters, and we did just that. So he created this play to make us image these great successful people, to make us feel like one day we would, get this money like these people. Queen Latifah, the Obamas. We were the Obamas.
Well, Shanice was Queen Latifah. Lord, Shanice.
Listen, that play, Michael Jackson, like I could, keep going on. Malcolm X.
Alaska was Tina Turner. They turned that out.
Yes,
I need that. If y'all watching this, any of my youngest from Holmes County,
listen,
somebody has it on tape.
Somebody needs to
I
get us
need
tape.
that.
Y'all, the play was just outstanding. We did this. We stayed after school, just like they had extracurricular activities like basketball practice. After basketball practice, we knew we had to go practice for the play. Like, meet up in coach room. Come on, run through your strip until we got this. Let's do it. And he had 40 to 50 kids in the play at a time every day. Y'all, come on. Who turn is the next? Like, we felt like we were in a movie.
We had folks working behind the scene with the decoration things like DeLasia.
DeLasia Kaiser them were on the decoration committee. Like, they were not playing. They did so great, y'all. So once we felt like we had did something big like that, we had parents coming out, all the students.
They loved it too. They gave y'all a standing ovation. That was dope.
Yes. That was the most memorable thing I think I took away from high school when I left. Aside from, hooping, I hooped all my life. Like I said, after Aretha instilled that in me at Goodman Pickens. Like, I played basketball from 3rd grade all the way up to 12th. Like, that
and you were gonna play hard now. You gonna play hard.
Listen, that was it.
Bree Dawson right there.
I balled with the hoopers. Listen, look, let's state the facts. Now, these were my classmates, but these were hoopers. Shout out to Kia Washington, Jasmine Henry, Alexandra Singster, Deidre Harris, Dekedra, Jamia Jackson, like these.
The whole squad. Squad up. Okay.
We were hope, dog. Like, that was something we did. So, again, along with education, these girls helped instill a dream. Like, even though
right there, can you speak to the people about some of the lessons you gained from hooping? Because on my sports show, Put It On Some, we tried to cover at least one segment dealing with women's athletics per week, okay? Because we want to encourage more and more women to get involved in athletics. I got a whole speech called Man Up, where I talk about life lessons that I got from hooping, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of times those men get those life lessons, whereas girls aren't encouraged by society to play sports enough. Because men be thinking we're going to go get rich off of it. So, yeah, you trying, but there are life lessons in sports that you can get. So can you kind of speak to what life lessons you gained from playing basketball? You play volleyball too. Don't leave that out. Because Miss Scott.
Yes, Coach Scott.
Shout out to Miss Scott, because she came up there. She realized that the women
she was have another TFA. However, she was on the elementary side, but she was eligible to coach us volleyball. So she's real,
because she saw something going wrong with Title IX. She was like, the boys got football, the girls have nothing right now.
Yes,
y'all gonna get hit with a Title IX. And William Sullivan was maybe the only school
in the district.
In the district with a volleyball. Okay, yes. I thought I was right.
In the district for years. So they didn't pick up another volleyball team until the schools became consolidated.
Okay. Well, speak on the life lessons you gained from playing volleyball and basketball.
I would say that we'll just say sports taught me one, sisterhood, and sports taught me hard work and discipline. Like, you had to have a backup plan. I'll just speak on the discipline and hard work first. You couldn't do it without education, one. Two, you had to get, in order to be able to get out there and get on the court and do what you had to do, you had to take care of what you needed in the classroom. Meaning you had to have the knowledge, you had to make the grades, you had to do what you need to do. So you couldn't just go out there and, you know, do whatever you wanted to do and think you would play sports. That wasn't the deal. So it taught us that, you know, we all dream to be in the WNBA. We all dream to be a billionaire, but it's steps to it. You have to take these things you love to do and have that knowledge in your background to be able to grow. So I say, you know, that was that aspect of it. Sisterhood and family came with it. That was like a incentive of that. You took care of family. And like I said, these people didn't have to be your cousins or your sisters or your brothers. So Marcus Stewart, Phyllis Hoxie, all of those teachers taught us that if your sister is slacking and you're doing good, why? You need to pick her up. You need to make sure she's doing what she needs to do in her class, especially if y'all sitting in the same class. Why your sister didn't do her homework last night? Did you know about it? I'm sure y'all talked. We were just in practice. She didn't tell you she needed help. That was the type of thing that they made sure that we cared. Of course, we can all put on a suit and dribble a ball and go to McDonald's after the game, but like you need to be, it taught us to be responsible for people that we love. Like if these are our sisters, if y'all want a ball, help your sister out. So that was something that we cherished, and that what kept us close. Like all of us, like still to this day, are still sisters behind that, and we recap on these memories all the time about how we did things outside of the court together. So I say like that taught me sisterhood, that taught me family. And number one, it taught me how to care for people I didn't know. Like I didn't know what these girls went through when they went home after school, but I made sure to let them know that, you know, you could, even if you feel like you couldn't have a friend in me, you had a confidant where you could talk to me about whatever you needed to get you throughout the day.
That's real. That's real. Now I want to go back to something you said to tell America about the nicest thing y'all did for me. I told them about the thing when my grandma passed. Y'all did something.
I actually thought that when you brought that situation up, you was talking about that time.
I didn't know. I remember it all. I remember it all. She spoke on the fact that if they called me, I was gonna see about them. You know what I'm saying? And that's real. You know what I'm saying? I remember one of my youngest got jammed up, and he called me to bail him out of jail. I had to hit that slab, go bail my boy out of jail. You know what I'm saying? So they knew how I was. Okay? They knew how I was. So they used that against me one day. And they called me and claimed that they were in Canton, my hometown, at Pizza Hut.
Pause.
Okay.
When we first met him, he told us about a situation in his past that meant something to us. At that point, I think that also brought us closer to him, because after he told us the story that we needed to hear, it made us feel like, okay, hey, he been through what we've been through. Like he see what we see. Like he ain't trying to put on that teacher suit and like not hear us. So when he shared his lifetime stories with us, like that was the thing. But
and what she's referencing, y'all, is my incident with police brutality. If you follow me for real, y'all know what happened. I was nearly George Floyd, as I said last year when that happened. I know what it feels like to have an officer's knee, his was in my back, not on my neck. I'm lucky to be here. You feel me? And I told my students about that because as she talking about, I use my life to teach. You know what I'm saying? I'm an open book when it comes to that. I use my life to teach. I try to get them to be better than me. Hey, whatever you think is dope about me, you take that. Whatever I did something stupid, don't do that. But you ain't gonna know not to do that if I don't tell you about it. So the fact that I defended myself against that cop who struck me, I was trying to tell them, don't do that. I should have been Ezel off Friday and just laid there and set my neck and my back and sued. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to encourage them on how to not get yourself killed by the police. Okay. But So with that said, they told me that the police were messing with them at Pizza Hut in my hometown. And so I'm at my mama's house at the time. I'll get seen about my mom. And I just got hot. Like, I'm snapping out because I'm thinking these folks up here messing with my kids and everything like that. And I'm trying to get out there because I know them. Okay? They listened to my story about what happened to me and the police. But these kids were not going. You understand? They were not going. Real ones all the way. So I'm like, I got to get on out here for these kids being to cuss these police out. They didn't swung on the police, something like that. I'm going, okay? I get out there, and these jokers had basically like a birthday party set up for me, just in appreciation.
Yeah.
My wife was in on it. They had her go pick up the cake.
Yeah.
They were just in there, and I was sitting there just aghast. I was sitting there just shocked because nobody, as much love as I show to people, I don't get that same kind of love. Folks might show love, like, I done had administrators, thank you for what you do for children, all that kind of stuff. But it ain't the same energy that I'm giving out. I'm giving my all to people. So for them to go through all that thinking and setting it up and keeping it on the hush, got my baby involved in it, I'm sitting there at the table the whole time like, and none of my students in my whole career have done anything like that.
And shout out to Mama Wells too. She's still my mama to this day. Shout out to Amber Wells too, because she saw what her husband was doing with us. Like, she saw the love that he had with us, and she saw how he wanted to change our lives from what we was going through at the time. So not only did she allow him to do that, she brought her life and made our life her life. So she did the same. Shout out to Mama Wells. When he was concerned about his kids, she knew that he would talk to her about it. So she stayed in touch with his kids. And blissfully, I was just one of those people she stayed in contact with as well.
Yeah, shout out to my little bae. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's my mama. Shout out to my dad.
Little bae, and they're working on some statement tees right now. The statement tees, every
Get your
statement
tees, people.
But tees. I'm telling y'all, outside of my family doing something for me, just that's one of the greatest moments of my life. And a lot of teachers go 30, 40 years teaching and never have a moment like that. So I'm telling you, Bree, I'm telling everybody that was there.
Let's be realistic though. Some of the people were a little jelly, you know. They seen how he came into our life and we wouldn't let him go. So, you know, teachers became concerned. We were leaving their class to go to Pop's class, go check on Pops. So
you know, that is what it is. But it helps step the game up. You know what I'm saying? It because when you got people really going hard, and that's why I say pay teachers $100,000. Unfortunately, when I say that, people think of the worst teacher they had and say to themselves, that teacher doesn't deserve $100,000. Instead of thinking of the best teachers they had and saying, dang, if teachers made more, I would have had more teachers like that, or my children will have more teachers like that. You see what I'm saying? Because those people want to be paid properly. So it is just all to step the game up. And but for y'all kids to do that, and just for y'all kids at William Sullivan, I tell everybody I got my PhD in people from William Sullivan High School. I got my PhD in people. Okay, y'all taught me more than I went to Jackson State to get certified to teach. I graduated undergrad from Southern Miss. I went to St. Joseph High School, probably one of the best high schools in America. Y'all taught me more about human beings than anybody else. All these ideas I had coming in young and wanting to change the world and want to do this, I want to do that, and trying to, I wouldn't let them say the N word. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't let them.
Simple stuff like that you could not say the N word.
They want to lock up in front of me and stuff like that. No, you ain't doing it. They want to say, "Oh, nation, coach." What on what? Oh, on the United States of America, coach. That's what I mean. All like stuff like that. Calling them brother and sister and sir and ma'am. You know what I'm saying? They younger than me. all these different things. They embraced it. I was trying stuff. Talking to them, I was talking to them about gang banging, obesity crisis. We had one thing where I made them write to their a loved one they may have lost. Because like I lost my cousin Snuffy, and because he had, he was an alcoholic and smoked cigarettes, and he had to cut his voice box out and that kind of stuff, and he eventually died. I wrote to him and put it in the casket. Well, I had my students do that in the classroom, and they embraced that.
And so, if he allowed me to speak briefly on it, I think I was one of those people that like took his vision of wanting change. It like kicked another gear for me. Coach helped me establish.
Hold on. Let me. I know where you're going with this. So let me tell them this. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way then, since you finna go there. All right. Let me put a bow on what I was saying and then segue into that. Okay. America, what I'm trying to say is all of what you see from me now and all of my businesses was solidified by me teaching these kids. Okay. That was my 3rd year in education when I got to them. But them, it was like teaching grown folks who going through real stuff. So all my ideas about the world, I was trying stuff and they embraced it. They let me know that what I believe in and what I stand for works. Now, what she's about to tell y'all is why she's my GOAT. Okay? She didn't tell y'all about the grades. Okay, she was a valedictorian. Every school have a valedictorian every year. Okay, she told you about me and her good relationship. I got a great relationship with a whole lot of my students. It's a whole bunch of my students that call me Pop.
Still in counting.
You know what I'm saying?
Schools.
Just today, this the 3rd one of my students I talked to just today. Just today. You feel me? For all different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I think all 3 of them that I talked to today from her school, but I got a group text with some students from Velma Jackson High School. One of my youngest from my very first school, he just copped some shirts for statement tee. Like everywhere I go, I build a relationship. But this one right here is the only one I had that took what I was teaching in that classroom. I taught social studies. So I taught her Mississippi studies, world geography, world history, and U.S. history. And she would get so angry about the injustice in this world and in her world right there in Holmes County that she went ahead and founded an organization. Now you tell them about your organization. It wasn't me that started this. I just was teaching. You did this. Tell them about that.
9th and 10th grade year, like he said, like he taught us about getting out, making a life for yourself, even when you didn't think you could. So in between my 9th and 10th grade year, I was 15 years old and I had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So it was like a shock. Like, what is that? Like I knew my grandpa had diabetes, but I didn't really know what it was for myself. So in the midst of him teaching us about change in different aspects, y'all, not just financially, but everything. Like he gave us that 360 view of life. He provided that for us. So in the midst of doing that, I had my personal issues that I also kind of kept away from everybody. So all in all, after meeting him, I organized Teens on a Mission. Teens on a Mission was again an organization just based off change, based off discipline, based off hard work and honesty. We just wanted to be a group of kids honest with ourselves on what we were trying to do. Every school had SGA, every school had like the beta club. We had that, but kind of worse off in our district as the district began to having, how should I say it? They just needed more. We had to bring in more for ourselves. So I created Teens on a Mission with again, the students around me, those same students that helped make the place successful were students that were in Teens on a Mission. So obesity rates, I was a victim of that. I was a victim. I would say victim. In a respectful way, not a bad way. I just say I was a victim of obesity. We in Holmes County, we didn't have parks, we didn't have sidewalks to be active. Everything was so small that you didn't really have big yards and stuff as well. At least I can speak from my point. So, it was either by the time for me, when I stepped outside the yard, the highway was in front of my yard. So you couldn't really become so active. So Coach helped me instill the vision of wanting a different Holmes County. This was when I took it upon myself. It was a lecture. I can't really say what the lecture was, y'all. Like I said, this was like 10, 12 years ago. But something he said in his class that day, like, sat on me for like a week or so. Like, I kept sleeping on it. I kept thinking on it. I kept telling him, like, Coach, I want to do something, but I don't know what I want to do. And he was just like, I always tell y'all, you got to have a plan. You got to know the blueprint, blah, blah, blah. He helped me create that blueprint with Teens on a Mission. We did things like breast cancer walks. That was it. We had several family members that had died. They had lost to battles of breast cancer. So I felt like with that team behind me, with Tanaska being the co-founder, with Shanice being our assistant, with Kadarius Parker being our event organizer, he allowed, we were all put together for a great reason. So, like I said, the breast cancer walk. We did drug-free campaigns at our school. We knew that our classmates were smoking cigarettes and cigars. We knew that. So if we knew that what Coach was trying to get to them wasn't clear, we could be the people that be like, okay, y'all, this is what he trying to say, but not just like verbalizing, like putting action behind it. So we did the drug-free campaign.
With our breast cancer awareness walk, America, she being humble right now. Let me tell y'all something, okay? Yes, I was one of those teachers who was gonna provide the inspiration, but now I was also one of those teachers that try to let them walk on their own too. You understand? I give you an example. One of my youngest, Malcolm Luckett. Shout out, salute, Malcolm Luckett. That young man has grown into a man. I'm very proud of Malcolm. Very proud of you, Malcolm. He was in class, y'all 9th grade year, and I was talking about the president of the United States and all that kind of stuff. And I guess Obama was president, and he was like, Obama never come here. And I was like, well, maybe not, because he's the president of the United States. There's a lot of responsibilities. But I said we can get Bennett Thompson, and I got Bennett Thompson to come to our school. Came twice. While he was at the school, though, he told us that he wanted to adopt William Sullivan High School. All you need to do is write it down on a piece of paper, and he gonna get you what you want. Now, I did that part, and then I told them, y'all need to write it down on the paper. I ain't doing that. Okay, so I would inspire, but they were gonna have to do some work. And when it came to that breast cancer awareness walk, I did nothing but show up. Their organization contacted the mayor. We were escorted by the police.
This from the school.
This is on a U.S. highway. Okay, so this thing was blocked off. Okay, and we marching down this U.S. Highway 51, and of course it did what it was supposed to do, because of course people are like, what the world? What are these kids doing? And they see us just walking down and they're looking. As they're stopping, we're encouraging them to go get checked. But I did nothing. This was all my students. They did all of it. All I had to do was show up. She's saying that I helped organize the plan. I did not do that. They did that. Now I proofread it and figured, help with the grammatical and all that kind of stuff. But just writing it out, that's them. This is what our kids have in them. If you tap into it, they were amazing. I ain't gonna be humble about it.
I think that's really one, like, awareness really was a thing for us. Like, even though y'all we were taught the stuff, we were educated students, like we weren't just slow students. But again, he provided an overview, a 360 view of life. Losing the Willis was a social shock for us. So coming to him 9th grade year, he like put their perspective into, okay, now y'all gotta, not like forcing us to grow up, but like y'all are young adults now. Y'all not the little children anymore. So, you know, what can you do? What would be your role? How will you matter? So I was dealing with being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I had just lost my grandfather from diabetes. He had passed away all in that year. So at that point now I knew, okay, awareness was a thing. That Teens on a Mission taught me awareness. Like we're not going to be knowledgeable of things we will never know. So even though I say this, one of the things coach taught us in class was when we didn't understand, his thing was he had to teach us the double quick version. Now hear me when I say the double quick version. The double quick version simply meant nothing bad. It just meant on a morning in Durant, Mississippi.
I forgot all about that.
At 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, doing bus rides and transition to school, there were always a group of men standing at double quick having a talk about whatever was in the news, whatever had happened. They talked, and when they talked to each other, they talked well enough to understand each other. So when he taught us something and we didn't understand it, he said, all right, I give y'all the double quick version. That clicked. So in my head, with awareness, with diabetes, with obesity, with smoking, with cancer, my people don't know the double quick version. When they go to the doctor, they're getting all these medical terms. Like it's just getting thrown all over their head, but nobody's giving them the double quick version. So that's when I took the chances of doing the breast cancer walk. That's when we did the drug campaign. At the time, coach also taught us to most things were politics at the time. So we had people, local people, running for these positions. And again, he taught us, hold these people to what they say. If they are telling y'all families, they have to be the people to lead y'all. If they are telling y'all that they're going to do this, hold them to that. So Teens on a Mission kicked another gear by hosting an election night at our school. So all the parents, okay, if y'all had met these people before, if all y'all have seen was flyers and y'all missed the meeting, the board meeting, because y'all was at work, all right, this specific day in the middle of the week, we'll host this here. Whatever y'all have to answer or ask, y'all can do it right here. So we got all of those people running for those elections to get in that night and talk, and we had a great turnout. We had 100 parents. We had like 7 people who were running to be in office that night, and we all talked, and we even to the students who didn't understand what they were being elected for, trying to be elected for, they even took out that time to explain to the students, like, this would be my job. Because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know everything. I didn't know the job of these people. I just knew, like, around November, everybody putting up these posters saying they want to run for this. I didn't know the jobs of these people, so they took that time out again with some high school students to explain their duty.
I did not do this again. Let me be. My students did this. They got these folks who the power players in the county. Think about your county, America. Y'all know how the county elections go and all that kind of stuff. Think about all the different government positions in your county. And they called on these folks to show up and say, we want to, and they were asking great questions. Great questions. You know, and I was
then it kind of worked out for us because coach was teaching us history, and at the time, like, this was all of what it was about. So being taught that in the classroom and seeing it firsthand, like, again, it was another great learning experience. Like, we had the necessary questions.
They were on it.
Put us there.
I was so proud of y'all for that. I'm just so proud of that organization. One of my current businesses is consulting, education consulting, and I've told people about y'all organization, school districts I've been at, and tried to encourage them to do the same with their students. I even gave one group of teachers y'all blueprint and was like, see, this is the kind of hold you can have on the kids. This is what you can inspire them to do, because y'all were.
And at the time, we were so eager. We tried to spread it around the district. Like I said,
Y'all sure did. Yeah.
Now it was right now it's Holmes Consolidated School District, but
y'all
at the time we were all separated. So we were William Sullivan, Jacob J. McClain, S.B. Marshall. So we would take students that, even like I said, it was all like a network. He was teaching us network. So we took what we had and used it. So we knew that we were friends with some of the sports members at other schools. Even though we was in the same district, they were our rivalries at this point. That was something big in Holmes County. The Thanksgiving tournament and Christmas tournaments, all of that was big. So what we did, we took the students that were in Teens on a Mission, reached out to their friends from other schools, the people who were trying to be ahead of their class, and was like, hey, would y'all be interested in being a branch of that? I think we were able to get it introduced at Jacob J. McClain, but I don't think they really just had the teachers in the background to like get them started. They were interested in it. So at that point, they just always said, like, if we had events or something on the weekend, just asked us, could they be a part of it? And some of them even came out to the election night that night with us.
And I think, and I know you got a lot to do. We're gonna get to this, you know, what I'm saying, about what you do now in terms of being a nurse. But I know you got a lot on your plate in the healthcare field right now. But that would be something great for those kids to have over there at Holmes County Central right now. And you can find, because I know it's some go-getters up there right now.
Sure.
There's still some go-getters up there right now. So that would be, and all of these schools throughout America need mentorship. So I think that would be something to jump off up there. All right. So I told America already that you were valedictorian of William Sullivan.
Even through all of that chaos, I was able to come out, even through a fight, a suspension. It's there. The facts are there. I was able to still maintain and take care of business.
That's right. And you took that and went on to Alcorn State University. All right. So what factors played a role in you selecting Alcorn? Now, this is a very important question. Okay. Because I keep seeing so many people on social media. Let me be frank. Our people, Black people on social media who say college is a scam, or I was just there, or all these kinds of things. And when I see those things, I just wish I could sit down and talk to them, because I really think those people that are posting these kind of things didn't put a lot of thought into their decision about where they wanted to go and what they want to major in. So what factors played a role in you eventually going to Alcorn and you deciding to go into nursing?
Well, I say at the time, one of our principals was Nicole Dobbins. And our students, we hadn't really heard of a lot of colleges coming out. Like, they had high school day where you went to go visit a college. And basically, that wasn't business. That was a party. At least that's what it was at the time. So we had people to come out. And just being frank, honest with y'all, like, again, my grandmother didn't have a job. She had 14 grandchildren. My dad is a self-employed barber. My mom at the time was a sales associate. So again, having that mindset of thinking about, yourself and family, I knew my family had did what they could for me. Being like making sure I got to school, making sure I needed to, but I also knew at the time college was not free. You had to have a backup plan. Granted, college was not for everybody. It was not for everybody. Some people just knew that after high school, like, that was it. I couldn't go further, or they at least felt like they couldn't go further. Me, well, I never forget the representative came in. the first representative actually came in looking for basketball recruits. So he came in wanting to talk to the basketball players. And if I can remember correctly, Ms. Dobbins told them, you know what, we have students that's, you know, not into sports that's also into college. Like, can someone come talk to them? So he was like, yeah, I'm still that guy, you know. After I speak to the coaches and the students, you know, anybody else who, any high schoolers that you need me to talk to, I'll be willing to talk to them as well. So they poured us all in the high school cafeteria. Right before this, they had announced who the valedictorian and salutatorian was. I was valedictorian. My best friend, a kid, was salutatorian. So after they had announced that and we had got the news, the guy comes in and was like, you know, hey, Alcorn is a place to be. You know, we're family down there, just giving us his old prep talk. And he goes to say, we have the top scholarships for scholars. And if you're graduating valedictorian, you can go to school for free. That was music to my ears. I had looked to other schools. Granted, I did. Mm-hmm. I knew that once I had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes that I wanted to help people. Teens on a Mission helped me realize I wanted to help people. Even if I didn't know their clinical status or whatever they were going through, I wanted to find a way to get them the information they needed to know. So at this point, I realized, okay, I want to take care of people. I don't know if I want to be a nurse yet. I don't know if I want to be a doctor yet. But let me just get my feet wet to know like where I want to do. So at that point, I had did my research. And our senior year, they made us do this senior project where you had to apply for school. Shout out to them for that, because I really think that matters. That also allows you to realize what you want to do, where you want to go. Like they had a whole setup. We had to.
I remember that.
If for the people who wanted to go to the military, you had to take the ASVAB.
That's it.
That we had to take that test. Even if you didn't want to take the test, you had to take the test anyway. And if you made a good grade on it, at least if you made the score, at least that will open up a door for you if you didn't know. We had some people to take that route and did that military route. Even if they didn't stay long. But all to say, like, I just knew my background, and I knew Jackson State didn't have a nursing program or a medical program to get me there. They didn't have that. So again, just not only Jackson State, let me not just say them. I had looked into local colleges. I looked to Southern Miss. Coach was graduated from Southern Miss. He talked to us about that. And some people get afraid when they hear about HBCUs and PWIs. Don't belittle yourself or feel like, well, I'm Black, I can't go to a PWI, I can't afford it, because people do be successful. Coach is one. I just knew that I did not have the finances to move myself to Hattiesburg, to get the transportation to Hattiesburg. So it still is awkwardly weird being that Alcorn was 2 hours away. The good just outweighed the bad with them. So before I did all of that, in our senior project, we had to apply. So I had gotten into Jackson State. I had gotten into Alcorn. I had even gotten into Southern Miss and Mississippi State. These were all colleges I applied to and had gotten in with my grades and GPA. Again, Alcorn set home for me, not financially. When I went out there to visit, yes, it was in the middle of nowhere. It was filled around with trees. But from the time I got out of my vehicle to visit those people, that one particular Saturday, they became families. Like, it was just, we got what you need. It was just something the Lord had put on me to understand, like, this is where you need to be. Even if I didn't feel like I needed to be there, I needed to go start there, find out whether or not I would like it, and then do whatever it needed to be possible. So I chose Alcorn State, knowing that one, they would provide me with an education for free. I had the GPA. I was graduating valedictorian. So, at the time I didn't understand what Pell Grants and financial aid was. And I will say, still to this day, I think the transition between high school and college, students should be introduced to financial aid their senior year so they can understand the decisions and make that decision before they leave. But Alcorn was just family, man. Like they had a different feel. I felt like when I left Holmes County, I was still going to something similar to Holmes County. They were small rooted. Port Gibson, Fayette, all of those communities down there were small and tightly communities. So they showed that they cared about family. The campus was just so local that they also had, and still to this day have, families that stay outside the campus. So these people were coming onto campus welcoming you, like, welcome to the yard, like, you family, shaking hands, hugs. You know, of course, this was all before COVID, but you know, like showing us that love. So when I went out there to visit them, I told my mom, I was like, okay, this is it. This is the Lord opening the door for us. Mm-hmm. They say we don't have to pay, you know, that's great, mama. I'm gonna go down again. This is that grandma instilling me. I'm gonna go down there and handle business. If the Lord has dropped this opportunity in my lap, whether good or bad, I'm gonna take advantage of it. And that's exactly what I did. I started my years off at Alcorn State fall of 2014. It's crazy, y'all. I don't know. Maybe I just grew up like this, but even in my freshman year, you know, I'm thinking, okay, these people, you know, just gonna be a party and blah blah blah. Man, the first semester I got down there, I met students just like me. Now they being competitive in their college class. They get in these organizations. We networking. So I was wild. I was like, okay, y'all, like this is what college is about. When I was back home, all we hear is tailgating, football, and partying. Like, we don't hear about the same, you know, small organizational stuff that can take you to where you need to be. So Alcorn and college was a great experience for me. And again, everybody takes it all differently. Like you said, they take their opportunities different. Alcorn was a blessing to me. Alcorn was an opportunity to me. I met people from everywhere, international people from everywhere. This is again that 360 view that I had been introduced into high school. Now it's reality to me. Like, I'm seeing these different people, these people from different states. Like, you know, I'm listening to how it's life for them compared to life here in Mississippi. I'm listening to, oh, my parents are doctors, da 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 da. And you know, my parents, I've even had a classmate where she said my dad is a prince back home in Africa. You know, this stuff is wowing me. So
I think what you're saying right now is important, because people think that just because it's an HBCU, you're not seeing diversity. Yes. But you saw diversity of just people. Not that there's a bigger thing with diversity than just skin color.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You still have different kinds of people. Some of those people on their yard, they black, but they probably conservative. You got liberals. You got folks from other parts of the world, like you said. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. People with different belief systems and all that kind of stuff.
Bilingual people speaking different languages, people willing to teach you their language. Like, college just was wow. Like, it was a great wow for me though, because I was already that student that couldn't, like you said, a B would be disappointment to me. I could not. So those teachers in college saw that same thing. So it made me, okay, you know, you are this person. You can be more than what you think. So at that point, I took that position. I became the biology club president there. I was in the what else did I do? I was in the honor society there. Like, these teachers.
You ain't gonna rep your girls. I know you gonna rep your girls on
DST all the way.
I already know you go.
2016, spring 16, DE, Delta Epsilon. I met again sisters. That sisterhood was instilled in me there. Lord. Shout out to my girls. Like, you know, that life, it was different for me, but I'll say one thing I did learn is that that lack in education that I kind of felt in high school, the resources that we need to kind of connect some of those dots. I feel like I could have helped bring more attention and more connections to the yard. So with the biology club, I reached out to doctors that were in position. One would be Dr. Kinsey. He's from Jackson, Mississippi. He pledged Alpha and went to Alcorn State. He was one of those doctors. Chandra, one of the first African-American female orthodontists in Mississippi, is my profile, meaning she just crossed a couple of years, but we are soror sisters. I was able to bring her back to the yard and get her to talk to some students. So, carrying that social importance with me and meeting all these different people who wanted to be Mr. and Miss Alcorn, again, it felt like family to me because I knew that there were other people from different parts of the world wanting to do the same thing I did. So that made me feel good. And to speak on, college was what you made it. Seriously. Like you had to know when to have your funds and know when to cross your T's and dot your I's at the same time. So unfortunately, some would feel like, after college or college was a shamble for me. College was hard. Like, it's hard, but again, it's what you make it. I knew that I needed my placement in the world, and I knew I wanted, if I couldn't leave a legacy, I wanted somebody to know my name, know that I wanted to do something good. So after meeting a couple of people, I had then come to my decision that I wanted to be a nurse. And that's when I got into the major of pre-nursing at Alcorn. Well, even through all my goods and bads, y'all, I'm not the most perfect person. I was never a great test taker. I did the best I could, but I was never a great test taker. So one of these standardized tests, being the ACT, was one of those things that kind of held a lock on my decision making for a long time. I carried a 3.9 GPA at Alcorn for months, 4 semesters in a row. Let me say that, 4 semesters in a row. But unfortunately, I could never get into Alcorn State's nursing program. I didn't meet the qualifications of the ACT, and I was disappointed in myself. Sometimes you have to be disappointed in yourself to pick yourself up and get you where you need to go. So I would beat myself up, try to take those extra hours to pick up the pieces on the ACT. I had taken the ACT about 6 times, texting coach like, coach, like, I can't do this. What, do you got workshops? What you got for me? Because at this point, I'm not going to get in nursing school. So after my first 2 years of nursing school, and I guess I can sympathize with those who felt like, you have some of those majors that require you to get internships. You have some of those majors that require you to do those extra curricular activities to be qualified and certified. So I knew that, like, if I hadn't got the qualification needed to be met in nursing school, like, I wasn't going to get in. So after that, I majored in healthcare science. It was a similar major, just without the headline medical assistance. It wasn't nursing and doctoring. However, I think this just comes with, sometimes we just lack the knowledge of what we need to know. With that health science major, it allowed me to learn that you have people doing research. This major allows people to, do the research. How do you know? How did they find out that the medicine didn't really work on you? Or how did they find out these side effects? Those people are also doing research. So this grew a bigger picture of the medical field for me. I was able, under that degree, and that's actually what I graduated from Alcorn State with, the bachelor's in health science. I was able to take a internship at the UMC Medical Center here in Jackson, Mississippi, and do research. Really good research on diabetes. We did diabetes experiments on animals, rats. We took care of chimpanzees, like we did it all. So like that degree opened up a window, but not only did the degree do it, I had to network. I had to go to those workshops that they put up flyers about that people kind of did not. Like you say, it was all like a network thing. Like you had to take that extra mile to find out what you needed to know. Nothing really landed in your lap. So there was an opportunity that landed in my lap. Like, okay, I didn't get into nursing school, but I still have to finish this degree. What can you do? I got really into cell biology. That was my thing. During that major, I took the time to really study the life of cells. And what I did not know at the time was God had laid that degree in front of me to lead me into nursing, because I learned the basic knowledge of life. I learned the basic knowledge of how the body works just by having a health science degree. And that is what most students take that degree to do research. So it wasn't that I was in a bad situation. I just didn't know what was in front of me. So I took that time to do that research at UMC. And that was fun. I got my name published on an experiment at UMC with one of the doctors. My name is on their experiment because I helped with that. So like that type of thing right there.
That's dope. Also, though, that is so extremely important. I'm so glad you just shared that. Because I don't know if you remember this. Like I said, I was trying everything with them America. Okay. I tried to do like a job of the week that was different from your typical job.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You know, kids grow up, they hear doctor, lawyer, teacher, firefighter, nurse, okay, truck driver. But then it's so many other ways to get money out here that kids don't hear about. So I try to talk about video game programmer, or you might not want to be the president, but you might be able to want to be the person that advises the president on what tie to wear or what to do, what to say. So what you just said is going to inspire somebody to go look into that field and figure it out. Because we can't, like you just said, we can't have what doctors and nurses do without what you just described, the research and all that kind of stuff.
The basics. See, I know we're all want to jump to the top and go get the money, be a doctor, be the top line people. But
it's money in that too, though. That's what I'm saying. There's money to be made in that as well. I know now you ended up still being able to get on to be a nurse, but somebody else might look at it and say, so you a people person, you a leader, you gonna go in, you got to deal with these folks face to face. Somebody might not want to do that, but they still might want to be in healthcare and playing behind the scenes and researching. You might have just helped somebody figure out what they want to do with their life. So I appreciate that story. And America, I hope y'all take that and research that and research other stuff. Just think.
Yes, you have
outside
to do
the box.
Research. You have
think
to
outside
do
the box.
You have to do your research, because when I actually applied to Alcorn State's program twice, and that's when I met my 4-way stop. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, you can't get in school, the ACT. That's when I did my research. Okay, like, this is my degree. What can I do? And I met great people doing that. So, After that, I did my research. I enjoyed that. They gave me an opportunity. But right after that, the Lord he needed me elsewhere. And he put that on my heart to making another attempt at nursing school. So, I did my research, did what I needed to do. And that's when Mississippi College fell in front of me. They blessed me with the opportunity. They allowed me to do what I needed to do. And I have always talked to Coach about that I hate that something as small as a standardized test would take a great person away from the things that they need. Like, there could be several great teachers out here. There's a nursing shortage worldwide. There could be several nurses out here. And I'm not, saying that the ACT is not necessary. I'm just saying that I hate that something as small as a standardized test would take an opportunity. Mississippi College did not require me to do so, but they did require me to have a certain GPA average in their prerequisites, and I had all of those. Thanks to Alcorn State, I had done that already. So I did one accelerated year of nursing at Mississippi College, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but the most humble thing I've ever done in my life. When you want to be a nurse, you have to know your reason. You have to know your why. Because at this point, you realize that, it ain't just going to work and giving somebody medicine. It's not just asking somebody what their symptoms are. You now have the responsibility of invading somebody's privacy, invading somebody's life, invading somebody's feelings. So you have to be that, you have to take a big role. So my transition between high school and my junior year in college, I would say I was a very, very, very ill student. I was calling coach almost every other month, like I'm back in the ICU, like I'm sick. My diabetes got me down, like I don't know. So, I didn't speak on that much, but that was some of the troubles that I had to deal with at Alcorn finishing my first bachelor's. So if I knew I had overcame that, I knew that I could take the good in me and help somebody else. So along in nursing school, I have always had a thing for kids. Like I know children are at their most vulnerable state when they're young and, they have a need. So it starts somewhere. So I wanted to then become a nurse for the babies.
My kids wanted me to tell y'all to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me across all social media platforms, like the videos, and share them. Did I forget anything?
And turn on the post notifications.
Y'all heard them. And also, visit statementteesllc.com and shop with us. That's Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear
makes a statement.